Thank you so much, Cara, for agreeing to talk to us today about with our women's campaign. So our very first question is probably the easiest one. You have a new title. So President of Global Retail and Media at Circana. Tell us what you're doing now and what was your path to get there?
Yeah, a new company, a new email, a new title, but honestly, the same passion that I've had for many, many years, my 22-year career that's always been anchored in data analytics, all anchored in, really helping to see patterns through data and influence brand growth in the right responsible ways. So I started my career at Nielsen, and in those 22 years, I've really worked for three companies. I've just kind of laddered my way to and from a few of those companies. So went from Nielsen and database management and really learning the consumer packaged goods industry and data and analytics, having an appreciation for data and analytics, to then moving to dunnhumby, which was a joint venture between Kroger and dunnhumby Limited in the UK, majority owned by Tesco. And that's where I really sunk in on retail and recognizing the power and the potential of helping retailers connect with customers in meaningful ways. And then had a sprint at IRI, which has become Circana subsequently. And in between, I spent 8 years building Kroger's retail media business. So again, heavy focus on data analytics, retail media, all that coming together. And now I've got an awesome opportunity to lead a global team that works shoulder to shoulder with retailers every single day, and also a global team building new connections and inspiring creativity as the connections between content and commerce converge in the media space. So it's been a windy road in some ways, and in some ways a pretty linear path. And it's great to
Yeah.
be here at Circana.
Yeah, culminating in all the data, the retail work that you're doing. So perfect mix for all those things. So let's talk about your seat at the table. I mean, you are an amazing thought leader in the space, constantly quoted. When did you realize that you had influence and how did you earn it?
I love that question because when you're in the business environment and you've got big ambitions to continue to grow careers, I think there's a lot of micro moments that you don't appreciate in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
that really are starting to create those bridges and gain more exposure, and ultimately a degree of influence that you don't recognize. So I'm going to start with how did I earn it? What do I think I did to earn the space and place and grace amongst so many people and industries and partners? And then I'll talk about like two moments that I think were more impactful. One, on how to earn it. I'm a big believer in leaning into change. I'm a big believer in leaning into new opportunities. And as I think about the first decade of my career, I don't remember saying no to any opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I fundamentally don't remember saying no to anything. I wanted to say yes to everything so I could get new experiences, so I could learn new things, so I could meet new people. And then through those moments, I think that built up my confidence to have a point of view, to deliver good work, and that would energize me for the next cycle. I think through those moments, you build organic relationships, you build trust, you kind of spin your own personal growth flywheel, if you will, for these new opportunities. And suddenly you're at more tables, earned the right and recognition that you're going to deliver. There's not a question in that. And you keep getting more opportunities. So that's a little bit about the traits as I reflect on early on in my career, kind of what I did and how I kind of navigated these new opportunities, which was fantastic. There's two moments really that stick out, and I won't use any brands to connect in with them, but one was probably, I don't know, 6 to 8 years in, probably the more on the 8-year side of my career. And I was with a top global CPG. I was with their chief strategy officer at the time. And there's three of us in the room, and very active conversation about growth, about business decisions, about different business models. And I walked out of that room really confident because of being an active participant, leaning in, engaging, and knowing the questions were swinging my way because I knew their business. I understood their
Mm-hmm.
business, and I wasn't afraid to have a point of view. I also wasn't afraid to lean in with some help, to disagree with our client partner at the time, and to map, other ideas, other pathways, and other points to consider. And then just a few, years after that, I had an awesome opportunity to have a path to take on some career moves that were pretty limited for folks to make some decisions on different opportunities for my career. And I thought at that moment, I've earned the respect to make real choices about career paths. And those were two real like specific moments that stick out in my mind.
Yeah, I think saying yes is a common theme I hear from a lot of women leaders. And I remember a time that I said yes to something. And then when it got to the time to actually do this big presentation on this topic that I wasn't kind of super familiar with, and that was the oh crap, I said yes to that moment. But you know what? I learned so much because I deep dove into researching and understanding it. So it actually was
Yeah.
like a say yes moment. And then I learned probably the most because I had to do so much of my own research to be able to accomplish it. So, but there
Yeah.
was
You've
that.
got to put in the work. I mean, that's the truth. You've got to want it. You've got to be hungry. You've got to be curious. You've got to have courage and you've got to put
Mhm,
in the work. But good things happen from that. Good things happen
exactly.
from that.
If you're not feeling, if you say yes and you don't feel uncomfortable, then, then you're not growing. So
There's a quote that I love that right on that tune. It's a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. I 100% agree with you, Melissa. Like that's it. Like you have to get out of your comfort zone.
totally. All right. So 22 years, you've had this amazing career. Was there a challenge early in your career or sometime that later became a strength?
Of course, there are always anybody that says there's not are kind of kidding themselves. I'm a really passionate leader on both communication and accountability. And I remember early in my career, I mean, first probably 18 months in my career. And I remember sitting at the night, literally with my VP right next to me, about to hit send on a note that probably would have ignited so much negative energy. Not ill intended, but I was early in my career. I did not have the rhythms of what clear, succinct, externally appropriate communication was to diffuse a situation. I just remember, learning the basics of positioning, owning problems on behalf of the company, driving confidence and my own narrative to create confidence on the client side. I think that, a lot of it early stages of career comes down to clear succinct communication. And now I've had an opportunity to lead teams of hundreds of people, and now probably roughly 900 people around the world. For me to be an effective leader, I need to have clear comms into the team, to inspire a vision, to connect people to purpose, to create the expectations and drive accountability into my leaders and them into their leaders and push decision making all the way through. I think that the communication, kind of crystallizing communication, is really important. So those are things that for me have now play a role in how I inspire and motivate and drive change within organizations and across industries. But you learn a lot in the early years of what not to do in communication. And I still learn a lot on communication style that may be, more effective or less effective in different spaces and places. So I think, always learning all the way through.
ChatGPT has become a really good friend of mine in some of those, how do I make this more concise? How do I drive accountability kind of situations? So that definitely has helped me a ton.
I love it.
Okay, so beyond the computer, what's something that you're proud of outside of work, or maybe something people don't know about you?
Probably the biggest bit would be, and this is a bit of a COVID blessing for me because I could honestly say I do not know if I would have done this absent, the chaos of 2020 that we all went through and the speed of, quickly working from home and the dynamics at play there. But in 2020 is when I first coached my daughter's basketball team. An assistant coach, because I said there's no way that I could be the head coach. I just don't see that as a possibility. She's in second grade at the time, but it was 5 minutes from the house, and I figured I can make this happen. It's not a 30-minute drive from an office. And ever since, I then the next year became the head coach, and I've coached her now for several years and her teammates. And I've got one more round of coaching that I'll do this fall. And then, she's off to middle school and off to the races, and we'll get awesome exposure from other folks too. I'm proud of that personally, because you do have to prioritize time to make that work. You've got to work, and flex different things on both the personal front and create, create space and create bridges with friends that can help you out when you've got work commitments that take you away from being able to deliver on that end. But it's been really great to see, be a part of these kids and their learning experience, and back to resilience, the resilience that they have to have, grit that they have to have, how you bounce back from failure there, and just be a part of watching these kids grow and have some fun along the way. So I am proud of that. I love to work. I tell people that I love to work because I like to learn and try new things and be with people. But I also really have loved coaching, and that's been a lot of fun.
Now, were you a basketball player? Like, did you know the game, or did you go in without the knowledge of basketball?
I only played basketball through high school. I tore my ACL and MCL in high school, and then that took me out of the game for anything more high powered than that. But I have to be dangerous, run some plays, and hey, there's a lot that you can also just look up online these days to get some new plays for the appropriate age and intensity of the game. So it's been fun.
Okay, well, I took a step towards what you're talking about, and I volunteered to be the social coordinator for my son's soccer team. So that's not anywhere near that, but he wasn't happy about me volunteering for that. But I'm taking a
That
step.
may be more work. You've got to be all into all the details for everybody else and corralling the chaos. I mean, I have to corral, 8 kids or so and 5 on the court, keep all of the parents happy.
That's way harder. That's for sure. All right, last question of inspiration. So favorite book, podcast, LinkedIn voice, like what do you what would you recommend to people?
Yeah, 2 books that must come to mind. I recently read the book Radical Candor. I don't know if you've heard of that book, but I really appreciate it, especially as I actually just read it as a transition in as I was joining Circana, just about, building trust and connection, and the importance of the dynamics they talk about there of caring personally and challenging directly. I tend to, drive an ambitious agenda with a degree of, intensity and accountability and ownership and excitement. And as we push to the edge of what is possible, I think both of those dimensions are really important on caring personally, challenging directly, and how you build teams through that. You build teams, you build trust, you create a culture of listening. And the one of the bits that stuck with me through that is a comment that was made in that book, which was, as the boss, you're the editor, not the author, which I think is really powerful. As you think about what you're enabling your teams to build and grow and empowering them to do, and how we can provide direction and fun-free ways in different spaces too. So that book and those dimensions really stuck out to me. The current book that I'm reading is called Stolen Focus. And it's about the attention crisis that we live in. As I think about the demanding jobs that we run, as well as the demands, all of the activity from, families and friends, and there's a lot of competing priorities. And there's a lot of data that's fed into the book Stolen Focus, which I have an appreciation for, numbers and stats and how that influences human behavior. And there's a couple, bits that stick out for me as I think about how I approach new opportunities, new ideas, and where I focus my own time and my own energy. And some of the stats that stood out, one of them was around the average adult working in an office stays on one task for 3 minutes. There's big things that we want to do in this industry, and 3 minutes isn't going to cut it. Another stat was we touch our phones 2,617 times in a 24-hour period. So it kind of connects on the distraction of that phone device and just the creativity drain that it dominoes into. And so that's another book that is really my own personal reflection, because we all touch we all are on devices too much, with a phone, iPad, computers, multiple screens that are going in at any given time. As I think about the work at hand, opportunity we have to transform industries, the need that we have to, bring teams along and inspire teams. If we can't focus ourselves, that's a real challenge on how you take the next level of transformation within the businesses that we run and the industries that we influence. So those are 2 books that I'd recommend if folks haven't read, to grab them and enjoy the read.
I'm adding those to my Audible list, and I love to listen when I'm doing chores or in the car, and those will definitely be on my list. So thank you so much. Great insights, and looking forward to all the great things to come at Circana for you.
Thank you so much. Always good to have time together. And thanks for elevating these conversations in the industry. It's really awesome, really special.